Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Round Table Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in today's episode, we're going to do a kind of a recap, but it's not really a recap. It's kind of a research that I did information episode. Earlier this week, I revisited my old school former location of my old school, Florida Career College, up in the Pembroke Pines campus, which is a city in Broward County, which is stationed off of Pines University. Go back in history of South Florida if you didn't see it, and it was an episode when I was showcasing the areas. I did several episodes. I ended up going to Miramar Pinelands Park to do an episode out there. I did several episodes out there, and then I went to my college, Florida Career College, and then I ended up at the mall, Pembroke Lake Mall afterwards, and I did a food review there. But back to what I was saying, the Florida Career College, I had that opportunity of being part of that college. I actually did an episode. If you go back, way back, because I've been doing this show for a while. If you go way back, I did an episode in the classroom, in one of the classrooms with one of my classmates there. So I actually did an episode there from of the show because I started this show I think around 2010. I believe I started this show, and I didn't, and this was before my college, years. And I was just doing this show. It was me and a couple of friends that started this show, and we was doing it the base topics and things like that. And then I started opening up to more things, and I did an episode inside of one of the classrooms at the college, which was not bad. And I did an episode there the other day, and I was showing you the area and how the area has changed from different things. How there used to be restaurants and businesses and places like that was in the area, and the school. And I told you that the school closed in 2024. Now, let me give you a little bit of research on that. Anthem College, what I told you, Anthem College, which was the company that acquired Florida Career College, because Florida Career College was like a standalone college, and Anthem College acquired them and brought them into their world of colleges, because Anthem College has several locations throughout the United States in different states and cities. And I didn't know it, and I did a little bit of research back in 2014. That's the same year that I had graduated from the college. That's the same year Anthem filed bankruptcy for, because they filed bankruptcy, and it doesn't really say what the reason for bankruptcy, but they filed bankruptcy. And like most technical college, that's basically the reason. A lot of these colleges, they are, they go the money is not right, the funds is not right, and they go out of business and things like that. Because remember, I told you about um the college that I went to prior to that was Fast Train, which was a college, and it was down the street from it. Probably like a 10-minute drive or so, or probably, yeah, about a 10-minute or so drive down the street from my fellow career college, and they closed because there was money laundering and stuff like that. We'll probably get into it. We'll probably talk about that in another episode and things like that. But I did talk about, I did an episode back a while back about these technical colleges closing and things like that. But they ended up, Anthem College ended up filing for bankruptcy. I thought it was later on down the line. I thought it was after I graduated, but I didn't realize it was the same year that I graduated. And then some of their locations got, bought out by the IEC, which is the International Education Corporation. And IEC ran Florida Career College up until about 2023 to 2024. I guess IEC did not realize that Florida Career College was scheming the government and allegedly scheming the government. It has been said, and when I did my research, that Florida Career College, and I didn't know that they was doing this. I thought, it said that they was admitting students that did not have high school diplomas or GEDs, But I was under the impression that they had a program for students to get their GED while attending college. They had a program, but they was admitting students that didn't have high school diplomas and GEDs, and so the government found out about it, and the government cut financial aid funding to the students of these colleges. Now the IEC corporation, you know, the president of the corporation, the IEC program, the IEC company is still exists. I looked it up and it still exists. But they said, you know what? I don't want to go through this long battle process and legal process of trying to get all this information right with this school. So you know what? We're just gonna close the schools. We're just gonna close them. And in 2024, towards the beginning of 2024, they decided to close all the Florida Career College schools. And they said, you know what? And it said that the owner, the president or owner of the company didn't want to go through all the legal processes, didn't want to go through all the hassles with financial aid, so they just decided to close all the locations. Now, if you looked at my video and saw that the location that I went to school at still looks the same. They had a water fountain in the middle of the foyer and everything. The location that I said was the restaurant, was the cafeteria, was not the cafeteria. That was the front desk. The cafeteria was on the next area of them. I thought that was the cafeteria area, but no, that's the actual front desk area of the college. But I miss read that thing. So when you go, we're not gonna go, but when you go look back at the video, if you see why I say this was the cafeteria, that wasn't the cafeteria. I think the cafeteria area got boarded up and it became like a wall or something like that. Because we was the only campus that had a cafeteria and things like that. But the IEC company, they just decided to close the campuses and things like that. And then it said that they finished out the semester so the kids can finish out their classes. So I'm guessing the semester or the school term, meaning that the rest of the school term or whatever, because a lot of kids, school ends like what, June, July, something like that. Because I think that's what it was. Like the kids were supposed to graduate, because I know in 2014 I was supposed to graduate, and I believe in either I think June or July I was supposed to graduate, and then they pushed it back to September, and I graduated in September of 2014. But it was that reason that and I did my research, because it's very hard to find a lot of research when on defunct places and things like that. Like with the fast train company, we knew that the fast train was I knew that fast train college was laundering money, like the financial aid that the kids was getting. Some of the administrators and people was pocketing that money, and it was basically like they was scheming off the government. And I believe that was the same way with Florida Career College, but I didn't think Florida Career College was like that. But most of these you know trade schools and technical institutions, it's basically like some of these technical institutions was getting away with it, but they wasn't. I'm gonna go down the list, because let's go down this list of. I had the list and I was wondering. You know, hold on, cause it was a list, and I was trying to find out. There was a list, and I was supposed to. Okay, hold on. A lot of these technical colleges, basically, they are alternatives for 4-year colleges. Because in these colleges, when you go to traditional colleges, like Howard University, Stanford, Morehouse College, Florida Memorial University, University of Miami. You go to all these standard universities. And I was told this by one of my professors, and I was told this by one of my instructors when I was with the Florida Career College. When you go to these colleges, because one of my instructors went to FIU, and they say you're learning through the book. But with technical colleges, you're learning by hands-on experience because these colleges, because I went to school for information technology, of course, IT, and a lot of these colleges, even when it comes to the medical field, and when it comes to a lot of these colleges, you're basically learning from the book. You're not hands on. They don't go and buy computers, or they don't go and buy equipment or things like that and stuff like that. You're basically learning by the book, and you have to learn on your own through things. And with technical colleges, you're not learning by the book. You're learning by hands-on experience. I learned so much about computers, but back then we was more learning. It's different now because now there's classes have to change because there are different types of changes. Back then, we was learning. Excuse me, we was learning about desktop computers. We was learning. The little base and everything. How you had the one with the disc and the floppy disk and the compact disc. We was learning about that and desktop computers. Now a lot of these computers consist of laptop computers. We didn't learn about cell phones. We didn't learn about apps and things like that. So now a lot of these colleges, when you're going in for these careers, now they have to give you up to date experience. We didn't never live about when I was in college. Cell phones and smartphones was just being introduced. Like 2014, smartphones was out. Cell phones was already out, but smartphones was out. Now you have Apple phones, foldable phones. I have a foldable phone here. You had a lot of this stuff. So a lot of this stuff was coming out. So a lot of these colleges, they had to adapt with time. And just like IT Technical Institute. I mean, I did an episode a while back. If you go check it, and we was talking about how these technical colleges are closing, and some of them are closing for the good, some of them are closing for bad, and it was, thing. It was the thing. So it was like, wow. Hold on. And see, let me see, hold on, I'm going to go. A list of technical schools that closed. Um, okay, and we're going to go. A lot of these, and there's a lot of campuses. There's a lot of defunct campuses that, you know, closed down. If you go look them up, there's a lot of them. Now, with Florida Career College, I didn't think that I thought that was one of the schools because a lot of these schools, I saw there was a school ASA, who was a school. There was Everest University because Everest University was a college, and ASA took over some of their locations because their Everest University had a location in Hialeah, and then they closed, and ASA College took over their location. Then ASA closed their doors, and Kaiser University was the only school that I knew that had a athletic department where they had cheerleaders and I guess a football team or whatever. And I'm like, a technical college got an actual sports department? You don't see that in that. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of these technical colleges now starting to act as they have the technical college vibes, but they're acting as if they're an actual traditional college. And I'm like, that might be right, but because traditional colleges, you have dorms and sororities, and you have all of the things that goes with a traditional college. A technical college is just a school and a building. Fast Train was one of the only schools that I knew that had their own bus service. I was a student of the bus service, even though most of their buses was like old, like former transit buses. I know one of the buses, when my last my last semester at the school, we had a bus that had that was bought out from another transit company from another city or whatever. It wasn't from South Florida, it was from another city. And I used to pull the stop requested sign, and even though it didn't say stop requested, it used to just say, the stop requested light was lit up, and it was fun. I think I have a picture on one of my social media pages with that. But yeah, and their main office was down in Kendall. Their main campus was down in Kendall because Fast Train, I think, had a couple of locations throughout Florida, because I think there was a Florida-based institution. And I went down there one day. One day I'm gonna go down there. I think I did a video about it. I don't remember if I know, but I'm gonna go do another video. They sat like walking distance from Miami-Dade Kendall campus. And the building actually still sits there. It's probably an office building because it looked like an office building. Like most of these colleges, these technical colleges, when you go to these technical colleges, it sits inside of an office building that's on the second floor. Like the college like buys out the whole second floor, and they have a room for the office, and they have like 10 rooms for classrooms and stuff, because that's the same thing what happened with Fast Train. They was in an office building, and like the whole second floor was basically like the college and everything. And I'm gonna go over to the area one day, and I'm gonna show you that. Now for career college, the location that I was at, it looked like it was a former supermarket. Like it looked like, if you go back at the video and see the shopping plaza, it was called College Plaza if I'm not mistaken, and that's because it was named after Florida Career College. And it looked like it used to be a supermarket there. And I told anybody, like, if you know what the college was before it became a college, because I'm not from Pembroke Pines, so when I first started going there, I only went there because when the college, Fast Train College, closed, they gave us an opportunity to transfer and go to Florida Career College. And Florida Career College welcomed all the Fast Train students with welcome moms. And I just said, why not? Let me go to Fast Train. Because, a lot of people, when the school closed, they like, I don't want to go back to school and stuff like that. A lot of people, they're like, no, I don't want to go back to school and stuff like that. I was trying to get an education from the school and then stuff like that. So, and then when they school closed, I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And I just said, let me already, I'm already there. So let me do what I need to do and things like that. So that's what ended up happening. But it got it to where a lot of these colleges, they're doing things that, that may not be up to code. Like, I didn't know Florida Career College was doing this, you know, high, letting people, because I was under the impression, and I think, I don't remember who told me this, that they had a program to where if you didn't have a high school diploma or GED, they would help you get it while attending college. But I didn't know they was actually admitting students to go to college without a GED, because I was like, how you gonna have a college education without a GED or a high school diploma? You need that, and things like that. And that was something. But I'm seeing now that it's not too many, it's not too many college institutes out there, like technical institutes, even though they're out there. But it's like, it's easy to get a technical institute, because look how many technical institutes have closed. Even not even technical institutes, even colleges and universities, because one of the greatest culinary institutes, two of the greatest culinary institutes out there was Johnson and Wales University and Le Cordon Bleu. And Johnson and Wales was an actual university, but a lot of students Le Cordon Bleu was a technical culinary institute. It was a technical culinary institute. If you wanted to go to an actual culinary university, Johnson and Wales was basically the university for culinary kids. Even though Johnson and Wales had other programs, but most kids who was into culinary and wanted to go to a traditional college, they ended up at Johnson and Wales University. But I have a couple of friends that did go to Le Cordon Bleu, which was a worldwide culinary institute, and they ended up closing. And one time, one of my friends, they took me on a ride to their old, location, because they had a location somewhere in Myanmar. They had a location, and I was like, oh, this is it. And I saw a lot of these, and most of these companies, they're not closing. Like majority of these technical colleges are closing because a lot of these technical college are people who open up colleges and they're scheming off the government. They're making money off the government. A lot of these, hey, I can get money from financial aid and I can pocket some of the money and I can hire these teachers and pay them and stuff. I could be making money and scheming off the government, and that's basically what was happening with Fast Train. That it was said that allegedly that they was pocketing money from the kids' tuition. Like when I went to Fast Train, I had to pay $50 a month in tuition fees. And I always used to wonder because now I know, you do have to do that because my girl is in college and she, has to pay fees and stuff like that. But when I was going there, I was paying like $50 a month. And I was like, why am I paying these fees if I have financial aid? But then I realized on down the line, and some of y'all may comment if y'all think it's true or not, that financial aid pays for 98% of your college education. Like they pay for you to come inside the building, they pay for your instructors to instruct you. But like if you probably gotta buy extra stuff, they pay for your books and everything to a certain extent. But if you gotta buy extra stuff like codes and other things that doesn't come out of financial aid, you have to pay for it. Like with Florida Career College, we had a cafeteria. We had to pay out of pocket for cafeteria. They paid the cafeteria lady, and I don't think that you wasn't going up in there and saying, hey, my college financial aid pays for my schooling, so I should get free food. No, that food ain't free. That lady has to cook that food. She probably has a budget where they give her like $200 or so a week to go buy some stuff, and then they go and cook the food. Because I'm quite sure the college pays for the food that they cook, and the lady, makes the food or whatever and stuff like that, or whoever was there that worked inside the cafeteria. But like I was saying, yeah, a lot of there are things that you probably have to pay for. Because I remember when I was in Florida Career College, every class you completed came with a certificate, and you can easily buy, the certificates, online. The certificates was online. Each class you put, like if you finished a psychology or biology class, because I think it was biology or psychology, I don't remember. Maybe it was a psychology class, I don't remember. And you completed it. They had online where they have a completion paper that you completed. Because the first class that I ever did at Florida Career College, they had a certificate that I completed that class, and all the classes that you have, they had the certificate online. And the bookstore there had the certificate papers, and you put the certificate papers in the copy machine, in the printer machine, and it prints out, your certifications on that certificate or outline paper. And and I was like, I could have did that for all my classes, but I didn't. I did it for the first class and everything and stuff like that. So what are you doing? But yeah, and there were certain things you had to buy. And if you wanted an extra shirt, like an extra college shirt, you could buy that. Or like they had bus passes for sale at the college, because a lot of bus passes, the college passes, you had to buy them from the actual store, at the stores at the college, because they don't have them. I don't think they sell them at even if they do sell them at local pass sales places, you probably have to show identification. But it would have been better just to go to the school and go to the bookstore and say, hey, I need a bus pass, and get a bus pass from the school, and stuff like that, because you're inside the school. So it was like that. But I was always wondering about that. But yeah, the school actually closed. IEC is still in service, and they still is working. I looked it up. But let me know if you've ever been to Florida Career College, or if you ever been to a technical school and they closed. Let me know, and stuff like that, because the school, and honestly, normally when a company closes, a lot of all of its locations get closed. And when Anthem filed for bankruptcy in 2014, that would have been a red flag to like maybe the school, Florida Career College. But I think because Florida Career College got acquired by the IEC corporation, it made it to where they was able to stay afloat. Because I think if they wouldn't have got bought out from Anthem, they would have probably had to close too. And I wonder sometimes, I know when you get your degree and your school closes, your degree is still good because you went to school. But I wonder for a lot of people, like, what if you're about to graduate from the college? Like, you're one class away from graduating and the school closes and you was about to graduate. Like, or when you actually graduate and the school closes. Like, say, you for instance, your school is going to close tomorrow and tomorrow is your last day of school and you're graduating. Do they have graduation ceremonies for these places? Because, there was students at Fast Train that was about to, graduate and complete their classes when the school was closing. And I was wondering, like, do they have actual graduations for these places? Do they actually give them certifications, they degrees and stuff? I know the graduate because I know with Fast Train, with Florida Career College, our graduation was at the um Emery Bank Arena, which used to be the what was the name of the building? BB&T Center, which is the arena that's home to the Florida Panthers in Sunrise, Florida. And they not only had our campus, but they had several other campuses as well too, because um, they did a joint graduation for a lot of the campuses there. And then that's that. And I was wondering, like, if the school closes and the kid is about to graduate, do they still have a graduation for the kids, or they tell the kids, hey, we're just gonna have your diplomas here? And not only if that, because it did say online, if you want your transcripts and the other thing from a closed school, you have to go through any um the government, or I think the educational, you have to go through whatever program, whatever company that acquired all the information from that school. Like, I believe you will have to go to IEC for your information, but since Florida Career College closed, you probably got to go to the Department of Education or something to acquire your transcripts and stuff like that. Because what if you say you want to continue your schooling at another school or something like that, and your school closed? You have to get your transcripts from or go through a process to get your transcripts from these schools and stuff like that. So I wonder, you know. So the question is, have you ever been to a school? Have you, like, for y'all? Have y'all been to a technical school? Have you ever been to a technical school? That's one. And then number two, have you been to a technical school that has closed down since you've been there? A lot of these technical schools are closing. I remember the Miami Institute of the Fashion Institute of Miami. I think it was a University of Miami Fashion Institute or something, like, not University of Miami, but it was the Miami Institute of Fashion or something. I forgot the name of it. I remember that. Fast Train, I remember. Brown Mackie College was a good one. Um, of course, Fast Train, Florida Career College. There's a lot of these schools that was out there and they're closed. And a lot of ITT Technical Institute, which was one of the premier technical institutes for computers and everything technical, and when that closed, I was like, if that closed, because everybody knew about ITT Tech, they was like the grandfather of technical college, and stuff like that. But let me know what you think. Comment at the bottom of this page. You can also email me, roundtable305@yahoo.com. If you've ever been to Florida Career College, rep your college, rep your location, and rep your graduation if you graduated from there. Because some of y'all probably didn't graduate, because they closed down and you couldn't continue your education there. But I don't know what they did with the students. I don't know if they sent the students like they did Fast, because Fast Train sent all their students to Florida Career College. And I wonder, what did Florida Career College do with all their students? Did they transfer all their students to another technical college or what? Because that's kind of weird. But let me know what y'all think about this, and stuff like that. And comment at the bottom of this page as well. You can also email me, roundtable305@yahoo.com, because it brought back memories when I went to my old college and I was like, oh my god, I seen this, stuff like that. And we're gonna do another follow-up episode when not about this college, but we're gonna do in the near future, we're gonna talk about an episode about colleges and things like that. And technology and things like that, because this is like, you see all these colleges and everything, and every year there's a college going downhill, where there's a college closing, or they're changing their name, or like Florida Memorial College used to be the old school black college. Now it's Florida Memorial University. And a lot of these colleges, they going downhill because of financial problems, or they going downhill because they was doing something under the table. But let me know. Comment, email, roundtable305@yahoo.com. And I thank y'all for watching this. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated. And I'll see y'all in the next episode. Take care.